What's up, guys? Welcome back to the garage. Welcome back to the channel. If you've been following along, we are in episode 2 of this series. If you're just catching the video based on the title, we are removing the tank on this 2006 Gen 1 Hayabusa. But first, we're going to go around and drain the fluids on this bike. So I'll pull the tank off and get all the fluids drained out. I'm going to drop the oil and put some fresh fluids back in and try to crank this bike over and troubleshoot what's going on with this bike. I don't know the specifics on the issues the bike may have, and we're going to find out. So if you're interested, follow along. If you are more just wondering how to remove the tank, you guys can skip ahead and go straight to the tank removal process. But for the most part, we're going to start with grabbing some tools. I'll get you guys set up on the tripod and we'll start. All right, guys, so getting ready to remove this tank. We got a few fasteners that we need to remove first. We've got our 2 Allen bolts here, which are a 4mm. And then back here, we're going to remove the 2 bolts for this bracket, if you can see, which mount this little pivot hinge to the frame. So this bolt and the bolt over here will take off, which are a 12mm bolt. This bolt can disconnect this tank from this hinge mechanism, but unless you have this side arm here, this rear frame removed, you're not going to be able to extract this bolt out. It's too long. So easiest way is to pop these 2 bolts out and then take the whole bracket itself off the rear subframe. So coming over to the table, like I said, you're going to need a 4mm Allen, 12mm socket. We got some clips to remove, so a little pick tool, some needle nose pliers. We've got the fuel pump wire harness to remove and a few other little harnesses down underneath the tank. So let me get you set up on a tripod and we'll start at it. Hold tight. All right, guys, we're going to get started by removing those 2 front 4mm bolts. All right, here comes the 12mm bolts back on the rear subframe. All right, so now it's time to lift the tank and disconnect some of the wiring harnesses down below. So you got to be careful because we are disconnected on that back bracket. So that pivot is a little shifty. This is where I like my little long reach needle nose. I could squeeze. Let's come around to the back side. So you've got this breather tube that's locked right here. So you want to free that up. That way we can pull this up and out. All right, I got you repositioned. We are disconnected. I'll lift up and pull this tank off completely. All right, guys, so we do have the tank off. I will drain all the gas out of this tank. I'll drain all the oil out of the bike. I'll put some fresh oil in, some brand new gas, and I will inspect this air box. I'll make sure that we're not sucking any bad particles down into the engine. Install a battery and see if this bike turns over. I'm curious to find out how many miles are also on this bike. But from the looks of everything, I would guess on the low side. So hopefully my guess is right, but we'll see. I mean, doesn't look like this bike has had many owners. There's a lot of original parts still on this bike, which give me some high hopes. I mean, we got the original grips on this bike still, so that's one of the first things that are upgraded. We'll see. Like I said, high hopes. All right, hold tight. Let me get you guys on a tripod, get you guys mounted up, and we'll open up this air box, see what the inside of that looks like. We'll get the gas drained out, drain the oil, put some fresh oil in, and see if she starts up. All right, hold tight. All right, guys, so I got all the old gas drained out of the tank. I got some new gas treated with some seafoam. I'll get you guys set up on a tripod. We'll open up this air box, make sure we're all clean inside. We'll put some fresh gas back in the tank once it's back installed, and we'll get the oil drained out. I got some fresh oil we'll put back in, and we'll install a battery and see if this bike cranks over. So hold tight. Let me get you guys back on the tripod. All right, for this you're gonna need a Phillips. Got our velocity stacks inside there. Everything seems to be fairly clean. Got a little debris, but for the most part, relatively clean. All right, so let's get an oil pan set up, drain the oil, add some fresh oil in, and reinstall the tank. See if this bike cranks over. Guys, I got you mounted underneath the bike. We're going to open up this drain plug, which is a 17mm bolt. Hold tight. All right, guys, we're almost drained. Just to give you a reference of where we're at in this pan, I'm almost above the rim with this fluid. I'm going to reuse this bolt and washer when I do the actual oil change on this bike. I will put a new crush washer and a new bolt on. But for this purpose, we're just trying to figure out what's the matter with this bike. So for right now, I'll be able to put this crush washer back on, reuse it, get some new fluid back in, and do our little test. So here we go. I'm gonna get this bolt. All right, guys, so specs say 1040. I'm going to put some 300V full synthetic in. This is coming right back out, so Alright guys, it's a new day. Last night battery died. It was late. It was a good stopping point actually. So we're back in the garage. Recap of where we're at so far. We drained the old oil, the 5-6 year old oil that's just been sitting. We pulled the tank off, put some fresh gas with a mixture of some seafoam in that gas, and we installed a battery. So battery's installed, brand new battery, nothing special. Picked it up off Amazon, little cheap battery. I think it was about $50. Came next day. So let's get this bike fired up. First thing, to mention, bike's been sitting for all these years, and basically gravity's working against this motor. All the oil that typically stays up and around your moving parts to keep things lubricated have drained and dropped back down into the oil pan. So what we want to do before we dry fire this bike and create a lot of friction, we want to spin the motor around without actually starting the bike, get the sump pump pushing oil back up into the head and around the pistons, and basically kind of prime the bike with oil and lubricate all the working parts that need to be lubricated. So this bike, even though it's fuel injected, has a choke. So we don't want to engage that choke. We want to keep that opened or closed. And I would say leave the kill switch engaged, but you won't get the starter to spin. So we do need to have this on. We'll try to spin the motor around. I don't even know if it's going to start. So if it does start, I'll kill it real fast and see if I can continue to crank it around to get the oil pumped and primed around all the parts that may not have oil. All right, I got you guys set up at the dash. We're going to turn this bike on and see what kind of display we get. So put the battery in. Like I said, I got this bike. Not quite sure what's wrong with it. Previous owner says it just conked out, stopped working. So it'd be interesting to see, now that we got a battery in this bike and some fresh fluids, what we discover. So here we go. All right, well, the gauges work. Looks like we got an F1 or FI light blinking. All right, let's prime the bike. Like I said, let's try to get this motor to turn without actually firing and get some of this oil moved around the engine. Okay. Let's investigate this FI light. I'm going to put this bike in dealer mode, if you guys are. And this connector is on the back side. Deep down. And let's see. Let me see if I can pull this cap off. And we've got a 2-wire setup, so all we need to do is bridge across these wires, and usually a little safety clip will work, or paper clip will work. Hold tight. Alright, so I got a wire kind of bridging the gap. We'll get mounted back up. We'll turn this bike back on, and we'll see what this is. Alright, I don't know what happened to my last video, but that FI light was throwing a code, which was the tip sensor, and it looks like it has broken off the bracket. So I don't know if this is the problem that the original owner had or not, or if this is just something that's secondary. But I'm going to get this in the upright position. So if you can see this, it says upper and there's an arrow. So I'm going to put this upright. So let's go back around to the front of the bike. Turn this bad boy on and see if our FI light's gone. And what do you know? Alright, let's give this bike a little bit of choke. See if she fires up. Oh my gosh, she's alive. Fired right up. Oh my goodness. Well, that's good news. Don't have a lot of fluid as far as radiator fluid in the bike. As far as the overflow, I'm below the low line. The radiator itself does have fluid. It's topped off. I did check that prior to firing up this bike. I heard my bolt fall, so I'm looking for that right now. There she is. Alright, before I get smoked out in this garage, kill the bike. Miles. 20,000 miles. Not too many miles for this year. Well, that's some good news for me. Like I said, guys, that's some good news. So one less thing to worry about on my end. So my big worry on these projects are how much do I want to invest into a project like this with the uncertainty of cost and so on and so forth. So right now I would say it's looking promising. So I'm going to continue forward with this build. I plan to remove the entire motor, wiring, and strip this bike down to its frame. And we'll start replacing swing arm bearings. We'll start rebuilding the forks. We'll go through the motor. I'll get the motor on a stand, and we'll check the valve clearances. We'll check the stator. We'll look through the clutch. More than likely install a brand new clutch pack. I'll check the slipper clutch. This particular Gen 1, there's a mod, clutch mod out there that individuals perform to basically prevent the slipper action, the slipper clutch action from happening. So we'll look at the clutch and inspect to see how many people have been in and out of this clutch and see if that mod's been done or not, and more than likely do it ourselves. So for this video, I'm gonna wrap it up, and basically we went through the removal of the tank. That was the primary subject or topic of this video. So that has been completed, and like I said, The best way of doing the removal of a tank on this bike, take the 2 bolts out of the rear bracket here. You got 2 bolts up top. This tank then lifts up. You've got the connector right here that's into the pump, and you've got this wire harness, and then down below on that back side over there, you got your hose that goes to the charcoal filter. You disconnect those 3 items, and then you're gonna have your bleeder hose that's kind of snaked through the frame and ran through to the bottom of the bike. You're gonna have to pull that out because that might bind up on you as you go to pull the tank off the bike. So keep that in mind. And there you have it. So hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you guys on the next one.